1,000 horses. That was 1,000 horses singing, Joel. What'd you think of that?
Well, I thought it sounded pretty mellow.
Pardon?
Smoking horses.
No, 1,000 horses.
1,000.
Oh. 1,000 horses.
Smoking.
How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm getting up there in the age department.
No, don't even
other
go
than
there.
that.
Don't even go there.
Hanging
Hanging
in
in
there.
He says he's old. He's 55 and I'm 56.
Well, the whole world knows now, Gordy. Maybe you'll get something good for your 57th birthday.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Anyway, I don't consider myself real old.
No.
I'm getting older. Of course, we all are.
Yes. I'm not going to dispute that.
But I don't think I've got a foot in the grave just yet.
No, I do. I have one leg gone, you know. So that it is in Rochester someplace. One of my feet. Good.
Anyway, Joel has been in charge of how many years you've been doing this, Joel? I was trying to think.
Well, I was trying to figure that out too, because I think I started working on these concerts in 1979.
Oh God, it was long before I got here then.
Yeah. So and everything's changed quite a bit. At that time, there was an active music union in Faribault, and so there was a money that they could get from the musicians union. The only caveat was that you had to hire a union group to play. And then kind of, well, originally, before I started doing this, they had a community band, and the city provided money, tax money from the citizens of Faribault to keep the community band going. I think they got about $3,000 a year, which, if you think back in that era, that's quite a bit of money. But things kind of have evolved, and most recently, our concerts have been able to get money from the Minnesota Legacy money, which was where the taxpayers voted to tax themselves for wildlife preservation, for hunters mainly, and for the fine arts. It was a nice wedding of things. And then I heard about this, and I thought, well, our concerts are perfect for, this is for the community, and it's allowing community groups to perform, and we have a world-class bandshell. I mean, it is really a high-quality bandshell. And so we wrote up the first grant, and we didn't get it the first year because we didn't quite know how to write the grant too well. But the second year we got all the T's crossed and the I's dotted, and I think we've been getting the grant now for 3 years, or maybe 4. I can lose track.
There is an art to writing those grants, isn't
there? There is, and then I think what we had to do was artistically justify the musical ensembles. But this year we have a new thing going on. Jeff Jarvis added another request in our grant so that we can have visual artists at the concerts. Now the plan is, if people come to the concerts, they can visit with these artists. They're planning on people talking to them before the concert, and then you can listen to the concert. And then at the end of the concert, you can go see what they've done, and again visit with them. Another alternative plan that people could have is if they set up with their chairs behind the working artists, they can watch them paint while the music's going on, which is good. See, during the music, that's the chance for the artist to actually work, and it's interrupting and it's noisy for the people listening to the music if people try to chatter when the painters while the concert's on. However, they're expecting people to watch them do what they do, and it could be really kind of a fun addition to the whole event.
I did that last week. There were, I don't know, 4, maybe 5 people in the park that were either doing chalk or watercolor or something. It was very interesting.
Yeah. And that's the new thing that we have going this year, and that was Jeff Jarvis from Parks and Rec that wrote that part of the grant and got it. So
adds another aspect to the whole evening.
It does.
We're going to run down all the list of concerts in our next segment, but this week, what do we got?
This week we have the Minnesota State Band, the Minnesota.
Tomorrow.
Yes, and I think they were founded in 1898. They're the last of the designated official state bands in the whole country.
And you think you're old?
well, but it's kind of neat that Minnesota's kept this this legacy going. They actually were able to get some money from the government this year as far as rehearsal place, and so that they can travel out to towns like Faribault. This isn't the first time we've had this band. One of the reasons why we get them is for a couple of reasons. First of all, we have a good audience in Faribault, and it's really a pretty respectful audience.
In Minnesota today, we're talking about the concerts in Central Park. They've been going on in Faribault, according to the note I have in front of me from Paul Panofsky, who's the Buckham Center director, for over 100 years. Did you know that, Joe?
Yeah, I do. I
Here,
did
thought
know
I
that.
was springing some information on you.
Well, I think you told me before, Gordy.
Oh, okay.
So that's no. It's amazing in the good old days, for people that didn't. You know, how do you meet? How did men and women meet each other if you didn't go to the same church or if you didn't go to bars and stuff? And so what used to happen is they'd have these concerts and people would come in from the country. I met a couple of couples that, you know, the women would put on their nice clothes and walk up and down those sidewalks, and then the men would attract the men's attention, and the next thing you know, they were married. All because of music. So anyway, what I was saying right in the middle of, we had to go to the break, was that one of the reasons why we get some of these groups from the Twin Cities to come to Faribault is not only do we have a good crowd, but we have this fabulous bandshell. And the reason why they like it so much is they can hear themselves when they play really well in there. There's, you know, you look at the fancy ones they have at Lake Harriet and stuff, the new ones, and they're not that much fun. Red Wing's got a new one. It's not that much fun to play in them. But ours, the sound just bounces around, and the people like the way they sound. And it actually was built in a way like, you were just talking, you were in Italy, you know, those buildings there are acoustically really well designed. This bandshell actually helps the group sound better, you know, which is a strange phenomenon that they used to know in old style construction, I guess.
Yeah, you go over to any of those European cities that have the amphitheaters and the acoustics is perfect without microphones or anything.
Yeah. And this is kind of one of the better designed ones, I'd say, in the whole state. Who knows? I haven't been to all over the country looking at bandshells, but it's a pretty good one. We're lucky to have it.
Yes.
And then Paul Panofsky has really done a good job of maintaining it. He upgraded the bathroom facilities so they're handicapped accessible. He's kept an eye on the roof so that we won't have water damage, and the floor has been replaced a couple times already because we do have some issues with the local vandals, I guess, but they also paint immediately. It's that idea that if things starts deteriorating because of graffiti and stuff, if you take care of it right away, then it doesn't get worse. And so we've had pretty good luck recently too. We've had maybe some food fights up there, and there's some people that smoke cigarettes up there. Can you imagine smoking cigarettes in this day and age? But anyway, I guess they do. And they don't put them out, you know, they just throw them on the wooden floor, which I think you were saying there was a bandshell there before that burned down.
Yes.
And I don't know how, if this could ever be replaced, this particular style building.
They have that beautiful mural on the south side of the bandshell that talks about the pet parade.
Well, that's where it ends, so it's very appropriate.
The pet parade's been around, what, 80 years, something like that?
Yeah, it's one of the, again, that's another thing. Faribault's kept some really good traditions, it seems to me. These concerts in the park, it's one of those things where a lot of people are becoming more isolated, I think, because of when television started in the computer age. But it's a chance for people to get out and see other people, and we hope, of course, that if they visit outside of where people are listening. But I think 95% of the people understand that when you're at a concert, even though it's outdoors in a public space, it's not necessarily for chattering with each other. I was asked to announce they had the community band playing on Wednesday last week, and a woman came up to me and said, "Look, you got to tell these people when they're at a concert, they can't talk to each other." I couldn't hear because all I heard were these people talking about their back pains and their ankle injuries and their grass growing and blah blah blah, and they wanted to listen to the people playing the music, which is, you know, it's only 5% of the people that don't get it. But
yeah, well, the problem there is it's opening day of this Heritage Days, and there's a lot of activity in the park. When you do these concerts in the park, that's the only activity in the park.
Except for this painting business now. That
Right,
we're gonna
right,
have.
but that's
But it's
done
the
itself.
the idea. I think see that's one of the reasons why people come down from the city to play here is because it is a respectful audience, 95%, like I said. And then my job, if somebody is chatting, I actually do say, either go to the outside or shut up. Pretty much, if they haven't learned that somewhere along the line that at a concert you don't talk out loud. But I think people here get it. So.
Yeah. Well, I've gone to a number of concerts down there over the years. We should emphasize these are absolutely free.
They're
the
free.
best four-letter word in the English language other than love. Absolutely free these concerts are. So there's no ticket price.
Nope.
Most people bring their own lawn chairs.
Yep. If they want a more comfortable seat, the benches are plenty comfortable for me, but if you could bring a blanket to sit on and make it softer. I would recommend, I can't believe how many mosquitoes are out already, Gordy. Have you been bitten? I can't believe it.
A couple times.
A couple times, yeah. And usually they don't get real thick until July, but they're out because of all this rain. So maybe some mosquito spray would be in order. Usually they don't come out till the sun starts going down a little bit more, but it can get pretty thick. It's like being in Alaska or something there because of the rain this year. The reason why the concerts are free, though, if you don't mind, I need to do a plug for these businesses in Faribault.
Of course, they're the ones that help make it
see,
possible.
we're able to get this legacy grant because we have to provide 20 or 25% of the cost of the concert by local money generated. So we do that with in-kind stuff from Parks and Recreation, but we also get cash donations from First United Bank, the Cathedral of Our Merciful Savior, the Hometown Credit Union, Slinger Electronics, and the State Bank of Faribault. And the money that they provide is like if they give us $1, we get $4 for each one that they give. So that's how that works, and we're very appreciative of these businesses.
That's what makes it all possible. So we probably should run down the list of concerts. You said tomorrow night it is again the
Minnesota State Band. They'll play traditional, well actually they use the same format that John Philip Sousa used with his world famous band. They play classical transcriptions for band, but they also play contemporary music. One of the things I saw they were playing is music from Camelot and music from Porgy and Bess, which is kind of semi-classical popular type stuff. They're not playing any heavy metal.
It seems interesting to me, if I recall this correctly, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, because you're like Mr. Music. But I saw them last year at the park.
Mm-hmm.
Did I not?
Maybe not, but the year before.
Well, the year before then. Years run together. As you get older, you'll understand when you get to be my age. But I seem to recall them saying that there was a famous march that was written specifically for them.
Yes, there was, and their players at one time were so good that the lead trumpet player for the Minnesota State Band was recruited away from them by John Philip Sousa himself for his band.
Say, and wasn't it him that wrote that special piece for the Minnesota State Band?
Yes,
How cool is that?
It's really cool. And then the director, the guy that kind of built up the band, was kind of spirited away from Minnesota by Oscar Hammerstein the first to be the music writer for his shows.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
It has a very storied history. Plus they've toured Europe 6 times I think, representing Minnesota at different music festivals. The next group on July 2nd is the Fridley City Band. This group is popular, especially because they have a German band within their big band, and they play German music from Germany. They had a tuba player who had relatives in Germany. He'd go back every year and he'd buy music in Germany and bring it back for their group to play. And they play in the Como Park Pavilion and places all over the city, so we're lucky to get them. Then we have the New Prague Area Community Band on July 9th. Last year they played a very peculiar concert, which I thought was kind of cool. All the music he picked, he'd found in his library, and he said if it didn't have a 1/4 inch of dust on it, he wasn't playing it, because he wanted to go back to some of these old war horses to see what this music was. Well, there's probably some reason why there was a quarter inch of dust on some of that music, but still it was an interesting listen. You know, it was, and I don't know what he's going to play this year, but. And then on July 16th, it's the Owatonna Community Band, and the Owatonna Community Band has got a really good bunch of players. They get a lot of directors from the area that actually play with them, and they've always been great. Then finally we're starting to get into the faribault groups. On July 23rd, we have the Lakelander Barbershop Chorus. The Lakelander Barbershop Choir keeps winning competitions. They've just progressed, and they're really getting to be more semi-professional than they're just regular guys that sing, but they really put on a show. And if people haven't heard them for a number of years, this is a faribault-based group that's really quite amazing. And then they have quartets from within the choir that sing, and these are also award-winning quartets. And then on July 30th, we have the most requested group from last year. That's the Copper Street Brass Quintet. They're the only purely professional group that we're booking for this, because the professional groups are always way more expensive, so we're trying to be practical with our money. But they have kind of a connection in that two of the kids that play, they're not kids, but young people that play in that group went to St. Olaf, and that's kind of where they met. And they go throughout the state, actually throughout the region, doing workshops during the school year. They've got, I think, 4 or 5 CDs out, all of which are really good quality. You buy a CD a lot of times and you listen to it 1 or 2 or 3 times, but I've listened to their CD at least 5 or 6 times. It's really very good. Then on August 6th, we have the Bend in the River Big Band, which is a band that plays traditional big band jazz music, but they also play modern jazz music. And their lead singer is this girl with a lot of spark, who actually could have maybe sang with Lawrence Welk. But she auditioned for him, he wanted her, but then she decided, well, I'll be a school teacher and a wife instead of a showbiz girl. But some of that showbiz is still in her, and she's very entertaining to watch. And so you have a really great band that they play all over the Twin Cities too. The reason why we get them, and we get them at a very reasonable rate, like 1/4 of what they normally get paid, is because we started booking them the first year that they started, because there was a kind of a personal connection. My wife went to Gustavus, and this group originally was all Gustavus students who ended up in the Twin Cities, and then their former jazz director retired and moved up to the Twin Cities, and they convinced them to make a band. And so that's, when we started booking them when they were just looking for places to play, now they play all the venues in the Twin Cities, Como and Harriet, and Lake Palin, all those places. So
I've seen them over at Kolachki Days in Montgomery over the years too.
The Bend in the River Big Band, really cool. Yeah. They're awesome. They're from this part of the state. On August 13th, we have Jive and Ivan and the Kings of Swing. That's Ivan Willock and his son, who's become a fabulous jazz drummer. And I think Doug Mano's playing with him still, and of course Mike Hildebrandt. And Dallas Musselman's their singer. It's like it's the all-stars of faribault music, in my opinion, all in one group. They sound awesome. Their bass player actually has a doctor's degree in music. I can't remember. Oh, Paul Owsley is his name. He's a great musician, and so every one of them are just solid. And Ivan just keeps going. He's like the Energizer Bunny, and it's amazing that I'm so envious of that guy. All right, finally we have the Bandshell Brass, which is the faribault-based group. By the way, if you're an experienced brass player, that means at least 4 years on your instruments, and you'd like to play in the Bandshell Brass, it's open to anybody that wants to play this, that has some experience on their instruments. And the rehearsals will start July 12th, that's a Sunday, at 7 o'clock in the Bandshell. So we rehearse outside every Sunday night from 7 until when the lips give out. They're going to be doing at least 2 world premieres again this year. That started because when we started the group, we didn't have any money to buy music, and so I used to write arrangements for them, so that way we could have something to play. And so I kept doing that over the years, and actually some of the music got published that was written just for this particular group, so that's kind of cool.
That is cool.
And so we'll be doing 2 of them this year that'll be brand new.
And Joe Ron is with us. He has booked these concerts in the park, you said, since 1979.
Something like that. I think so, because I think I started working for the city in like 78, and I think I was hired by Bob Burke, and he's the guy that started me doing that.
You would have graduated from high school in 78, right?
Me?
Wouldn't you say you were 55?
55? I'm 65.
Oh, I thought you said 55.
No, I'm 65.
Oh, okay.
I'm paying this is my last summer booking the concerts before I turn it over to Gordy, who, it's fun.
I have voiced some interest in it, but we're going to have to do some negotiating, I think.
And it's been a fun ride, and it's been fun to see the crowds get bigger, and then we've tried different things. We were hoping to have food vendors and things like that, but you know, people, and that's another thing. If you are interested in doing that, you're certainly welcome to do that. We just ask that people set up outside the concert area where the people are sitting to listen to the music, because you know, having popcorn and lemonade, and I think people had a lemonade stand, and if churches want to have fundraisers and sell pie and ice cream, you know, there's a crowd there, and they're hungry sometimes.
Yeah, in fact, the estimated crowd a season ago, according to Paul Panowski, and of course, remember, this is free, so this is obviously an estimate. They don't have tickets or anything. 4,000 people.
Well, you know, we have had nights where there's been over 1,000 people there, and then we have certain groups that will always draw up to 500 or 600 people, and when we used to have only 6 concerts, and now we have 9. So, well, actually 10 if you count the Heritage Day event. But that one's kind of separate. That's kind of done by the Heritage Day people setting up their events for the Heritage Day Festival. But from then on, we've had that's real accurate, because I count them. I count.
Oh, you do count?
I do. I keep track. Yeah. So, and if we have a bad night as far as rain, of course we don't get as many people, but you know, we can run the concerts anyway, because the band, depending on if it's a really bad thunderstorm, the wind is blowing and the rain is coming directly into the bandshell, we can't do it. But if it's just a light rain, people actually sit in their cars and roll down their windows and listen to the concerts.
Well, I think it's cool that we use that bandshell. You know, a lot of communities have bandshells that never get used, or maybe once a year.
Yeah, well, it's like I said, it's a great asset, and it's great that the town has kept it going and kept it upgraded, and it's well liked by the people that perform there.
Not just for the musicians, but our Memorial Day observances are always there too, you know.
And they use it during Heritage Days, and then churches use it sometimes for an outdoor summer worship, and yeah, it's a good resource, and it's being used. And then we use it to rehearse, of course, on Sunday nights with the Bandshell Brass.
By the way, if anybody knows about the history of the particular bandshell we have in Central Park, we've been trying to dig this up for a number of years.
Well, we talk about it, but I haven't had a chance to go down to the Historical Society. But I'm wondering what year it was built. Because I think it was a state-of-the-art thing, in that they used the technology of the day. There's on each side of the stage they look like little doors that open up, and what was in there were light bulbs that they could have a certain number, and they used to pass out programs, and the number would show up as to what piece they were playing on the program. So that, you know, and the building is old, so that was state of the art at the time.
Yeah, I'm not even going to guess, but I thought maybe the 20s sometime.
Yeah, and then if you get inside of the, you know, on these doors where people come in, now you can't really see them too well from the audience, but just inside the bandshell there's some doors that go to your left and right. And then you go up a stairway, and they used to have a whole band library, and they kept all of the percussion instruments right there in the bandshell. It was designed to keep this stuff. Then they used to have risers that they would pull out too. Then that was in the other side. I haven't been on that side for a long time, so I'll have to go see if they're still there.
Yeah, well, they used to have music stands and all kinds of stuff up in there.
Yeah, it was really designed well for music performances and band. I think well, see, there was a time when band music was really important. I think up until I think after World War II, especially with the military bands and stuff, were kind of important. I think for a morale booster and stuff. But I don't know. It seems to me it's
well,
like
the advent of rock and roll may have.
yeah, I don't know. It's been fading to for kids to take on an instrument now. It's they have to have a lot of desire and they have to want to be a little bit out of the mainstream, I think. And I feel I'm glad that I'm not in the music teaching business anymore because it's getting a little bit more difficult. Because what you ask kids to do is work and work and work and work for 4 years, and then maybe you'll be able to make some music. You know, it's where you can just sit in front of the computer and ba ba ba, it's all there. You can entertain yourself. You can go to any place. I was reading I was reading this article in a magazine about how these guys were stealing CDs before they were printed so that they could get on MP3s, so people that were into their computers could hear all the music 2 weeks before they were released for free, you know. And so then, of course, you know, and music is a business like anything else. So if you're paying for promotion and artists and you're not making any money off your CDs, I don't know. It's a strange world. It's a different world than what we were raised in, I think.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that. Well, Joel, thanks for all your years of service to the Concerts in the Park series. It's I know it's probably something you don't get a lot of thanks for, but.
Well, no, people are really good. You know, it's been fun. And I hope that we find stuff that is both artistically justifiable and entertaining for the people of Faribault that come down to the park. I mean, there have been nights down there that it's been so perfect, especially on maybe a drier summer, but it's almost magical. The air feels good. It's not hot. It's not windy. There's no bugs. And the groups are really good. I mean, I'll just give one quick example of what can happen. When Mike Hildebrandt was playing with his over and back band, and it turns out that the piano player for the over and back band's brother was Vince Gill's piano player, you know, Nashville professional, and he showed up to hear his brother play, and they invited him in, and he came in. So you're sitting listening
Right next to Vince Gill.
Listening to a Nashville recording artist that's on Vince Gill's records playing right here in Faribault. You know, that type of stuff happens. So
Well, thanks again, Joel, for all you've done.
You're welcome.
It's very much appreciated. Joel Ron. Again, folks, we hope you'll attend the Concerts in the Park. You don't have to be from Faribault to attend either. I've often seen people from Waterville or Kenyon stop by and enjoy themselves. It's absolutely free. That's right. There's no cost for admission. And you heard the list of incredible groups that are performing every Thursday night, 7 o'clock. Every Thursday, 7 o'clock. That concludes today's edition of AM Minnesota on KDHLAM Faribault.